Hi class, Sarah here. I know that you all know that I'm out sick. I am going to miss our class on Wednesday and Thursday, so I am recording this lesson for both my Monday, Wednesday, and my Tuesday, Thursday BPC110 classes. This week on Wednesday and Thursday, I was going to start the first introduction to Excel period. I am super bummed because it's my absolute favorite lecture to teach the entire semester. I'm going to go ahead and record this and highlight a lot of the key things that I always like to show on the first day, but I'll save all the fun stuff for when we return after spring break. You do have a homework assignment in Excel due on Sunday, both a training and a project. It is very straightforward, very simple. It'll be very easy to complete. Please don't forget to do it before you leave for spring break. So I'm going to highlight some different things. I'm going to create a worksheet, and I think what I'm going to do is, I expect everybody to watch this, but if you actually create the worksheet along with me and submit it, I will give you some extra credit points. I haven't decided how much, but it'll be definitely worth your while, and I'll post all the details after I post this video. So I'm still kind of thinking through what I'm going to do, but I definitely want to give you guys some points for those that go ahead and create the Excel sheet. So first of all, I have Excel open. I'm on my home computer, so I have the fully installed version. It's slightly different than the version you guys get from school, but it's still the same software. So if it looks a little different color-wise and things like that, just know it, but it's still the same software. Also, since you're looking at my home computer, the screen you're looking at, this is the Backstage view. All of these files are files that are loaded on my machine, so it's going to be different than yours. But again, with Backstage View, it's very similar to Microsoft Word. So up here we're going to start with a blank workbook, but again, you have templates, and the goal for you in this class is to always be able to download a template at the end of this unit and modify it and manipulate it, because you will understand how Excel works. All right, we're going to go ahead and start with a blank workbook. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that so that you can see the space. In Excel, these are called workbooks, and in fact, maybe I'll just do this, bring over a little notepad. So in Excel, we have workbooks, okay? And within workbooks, you can have worksheets, okay? In Microsoft Word, we had documents, and documents had pages, all right? Just kind of breaking that down for you. The file extension for Excel is .xlsx. And the file extension for Word is .docx, okay? Excel, we create spreadsheets or accounting. You might hear like accounting style workbooks. We crunch numbers, really. Excel is what we call a what-if tool, right? And what that means is you could build a worksheet to manage all the product you sell in your business. Like typically that's where we would use it, right? We could use Excel to calculate, keep track of data, calculate numbers and figures and formulas and things like that. Very different than Microsoft Word, which we used, which was all about formatting, right? We put text and pictures and different things in, and then we worked on formatting it. I am going to pause the video when I get ready to cough, which is about now, so I'm just going to pause it for a moment. Hold, please. Okay, back again. Sorry about that. It's probably going to happen several times, but I'm committed to your learning. I don't want us to be behind when we come back from spring break. Okay, so some differences between the two different tools. Excel is that what-if tool. I could maybe put a worksheet together. Maybe I own a business. We're going to do a little sample worksheet here. We own a business, and I can keep track of how much stuff I have, how much I bought it for, how much I'm selling it for, and how much I make, right? So what if I sold my products for $5 each? How much money would I make? What if I sold my product for $10 each? How much money would I make, right? Those are simple numbers and not really specific, but that's the idea. All right, I'll pull this notepad file out again when I get ready to write down some formulas to talk about that as we get through this. Okay. All right, so Excel is a spreadsheet program, and we know it's contained of workbooks which have worksheets. When we open up Excel, this is what it looks like. And so already you should see, oh, look, there's a home ribbon. You should understand the home ribbons. You should be like, I totally know what the B and the I and the U are and the A and the paint bucket tool. You know what all those things do. In fact, here are some alignment options. I can center align or left align. I can actually format how the text works. So some of these should already look familiar to you. The home ribbon has some very common tools that you use with formatting, numbers and data, things like that. You have an insert ribbon, so we'll just kind of go through the software at this point. You have the insert ribbon, which allows us to insert anything that's other than numbers, right? We're going to be typing into this worksheet, but pictures, icons, there are charts, smart art, so on and so forth. Page layout gives us, if we want to have it or change our margins, how we want things printed out. So a lot of these should be very similar to what we used in Microsoft Word. The formula ribbon is where we will go to generate all kinds of functions. Functions are pre-built formulas. We don't play with the data ribbon in this class. This is a little bit more advanced, but this gives us some advanced options like advanced sorting and filtering and things like that. The review ribbon is very similar in Word. It allows us to spell check, and you can have text inside a worksheet. The view ribbon allows us to see whether we want to have our grid lines turned on or off. You can see that there were lines here. If I uncheck that, that lets us turn the lines off to have a blank worksheet, so on and so forth. You actually probably don't have the developer ribbon at home. This is one we turn on when we do advanced programming. We will not be doing that in this class. Help is the same, and I have Acrobat, which again is extra because I have Acrobat installed on my computer, so that integrates with my other software programs. So actually it's kind of cool that you get to see what Excel looks like not in a school environment. All right, let's talk about Excel in general and how it's kind of set up. In Excel, we deal with worksheets, and down here in the lower left corner, you'll see this is called the Worksheet tab. We click this little plus, we can get a second worksheet, and this is how we can add them. You can have multiple worksheets in a workbook. And they can be linked or they can be independent, and we'll do both of those throughout the course of this unit. All right, so what I'm going to do is if you're following along and doing the extra credit, you should definitely have a second sheet 2. So I'm going to click on the sheet 2. To change the name of the worksheet, all you have to do is double click the name of the worksheet tab, and you can type a name in. So I'm going to type in, what do I want to call this one? I'm going to call this Fill Handle Practice, because we're going to do some practice on this. And then to change the to change the color of the tab, because I always like things to be very visual, if you right click on it, you can choose tab color, and you can pick any color you like. The colors are tied to the theme that you have chosen. This one looks pretty to me. I'll pick this blue. You can pick any color you like. And if you go back to the first sheet tab, you can really see how that color pops out, right? All right, so I'm going to go back to this worksheet. This is the worksheet we're on. Every worksheet is defined by cells. Each of these cells, the boxes, I'm just randomly clicking. These are boxes called cells, C-E-L-L-S. Okay. The first cell, the way we designate a cell location is by its column and its row. So a column are the letters at the top, and the rows are the numbers at the bottom. So this cell right here is referred to as cell A1. If I click in the middle of my worksheet, this cell is called N16. Another way to know the name of the cell is whatever cell you click on, right up here in the upper left corner, this is called the name box. If you hover over anything, you get its name. You can also click in here, and I could type any combination. I'll type G5 and press enter, and it'll take you to that cell, okay? To navigate within the worksheet, obviously you've been seeing me click around with my mouse, okay? Single clicking and double clicking make a difference. I've been emphasizing this from day one. You guys probably think I'm crazy. Why does she keep telling me not to single and double click? Because a lot of you by habit tend to double click things. That's the world, not just this class. I've noticed that's just how people use computers. Excuse me, I have to cough. Hold please. Okay, sorry about that. So talking about double clicking, what happens is if you double click a cell, I'm going to do that. When you double click a cell, you go into what's called edit mode, and you can see that my cursor is blinking. If I single click, I don't get that blinking cursor. Okay, I'm going to zoom up my worksheet just like I did in Word. I can actually increase the zoom in the lower left corner just so it looks a little bit easier on the screen, easier to see. All right, so again, double clicking, you can really see the cursors blinking there. If you press the escape key in the upper left corner of your keyboard, that takes you out of edit mode or just clicking on another cell. But using the escape key in the upper left corner is the best way, especially if you're in the middle of writing some type of formula or function and you're not sure what's going on, if you press escape, it's the easiest way to exit out of what you're doing. All right, so I'm going to single click one time on A1. To navigate the worksheet, if you press the Enter key, Enter moves you down. Tab moves you to the right. Shift Tab, holding the Shift key down and pressing Tab, moves you to the left. Shift and Enter moves you up. Okay? I click in the center of my worksheet and I press Control Home. It takes me to cell A1. So some of the same things that we learned in Microsoft Word apply in Excel. Okay, when you enter data or anything into a worksheet, you have two different kinds of pieces of information. You have what are called labels and numbers, or labels and data. Labels are typically text. Hi, I am text, and you press Enter. Okay, if you type a number, I'll type number 5. Numbers are aligned to the right, and text is aligned to the left. Okay, I'm going to do a Control Z and a Control Z. I'm going to undo that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the power of Excel. Okay, let me back up. Sorry, sick. Why do we care about labels and numbers? Well, if you put numbers into a worksheet, it really makes it hard to understand what you're looking at if you don't have some text surrounding it. So the labels or the text gives it context. And so as we build our worksheets, we're going to format them at the same time so they're easy to understand and for other people to follow. But let's talk a little bit about the navigation of Excel. So this is a part that I'm going to be grading for the extra credit. So go ahead on your second worksheet. I don't care what cell you're in. I'm starting in H5. I don't really care about the cell, but I do expect to see some of the same numbers and patterns that we're going to generate. All right, so if I type the number 1 and I press Enter, that gives me a number, right? Now, one of the important things about Excel to notice is that your cursor changes shape depending on what you're doing. Notice right now I have the thick white plus. The thick white plus is what we use to select cells, okay? Right now your cursor should be right here. I'm going to click one time on cell H5, which has my number 1 in it. I'm going to go back and select this cell. Now if I hover my cursor in the lower right corner, that thin black plus is called the fill handle. It's called the fill handle, and the fill handle is used to copy functions and formulas. Okay, it's very powerful. It's very easy to use. So if I use my fill handle on this single cell, watch what happens. I get the number 1. Okay, so go ahead and you can copy that down. Now what you can do is Excel is smart. I can actually give it a pattern. I could type a 1 and a 2. Okay, now this time I'm going to select both those cells. I'm going to click on the first cell. I'm going to hover my cursor in the center, the thick white plus. I'm going to left click, hold my left mouse button, and drag down. All right, I'm going to do that again because sometimes students get confused on this. Your cursor should be right about here. With the thick white plus, all in one motion, you're going to click in the center of the first cell, hold, and drag down to the bottom. Then let go of the mouse. You've made a selection. You've actually selected a range of cells from I5 to I6, and I'm going to actually show you how we express ranges. Here's that little worksheet again. So I'm going to come down here. Range of cells are cells that are selected. A range is expressed like this. So this range that we're talking about is I6 colon I7. 7? Hold on. Oh, sorry, I5 to I6 there. There you go. See? All right, so this would be I5 to I6. Okay, that's how you express a range. And here's a better one. Those aren't even great letters. If I do A4 colon D8, okay, what would that look like? A4 to D8? It would be A4 to D8. That is what that range would look like. If I was asked to express a range of cells, A4 to D8, that's what that would look like. A4, clicking with my thick white plus and dragging to D8. Okay, so once you select this range of cells, you let go, that's with the thick white plus. Then with the thin black plus, if I click, hold, and drag down, look what it does. Excuse me. It generates a series in order. So now, what if I wanted it to to skip by 2s, right? If I wanted to create a pattern, if I do 2, 4, and select the 2 and the 4, boom, 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so Excel can be a little bit smart. It has some smart functionality built into it. In fact, Monday, if I type, first I have to spell it correct. If I type the word Monday, and then I select that cell and use the fill handle, it will actually auto-populate all of the days of the week. If I do January, spell it correctly, there we go, right? It also works left to right. I could come up here. It doesn't only work with just numbers. I could say, let's say item 1, item 2, enter, and then I select those 2, fill handle, it generates a series all the way across, okay? It's smart enough to see the pattern, and it puts that in. All right, so this is what I'm going to be looking for on this sheet on fill handle practice. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got the 1s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, Monday, January, and some items going horizontal. That's the first piece. All right, let's save our file. And just get me to a good place to save. I have to protect privacy, so let me just get rid of all that. Okay, so I'm going to save this on my home computer, save as. I'm going to save it in my downloads. You can see I have a ton of folders. It's ridiculous. My life is ridiculous. All right, and we're going to call it Fruit Stand Practice, and then you can type your first and last name. I'm going to type my first and last name. Okay, boom, like that. Perfect. All right, I'm going to pause it because I need to cough. Okay, I'm back. Thanks for bearing with me. Whew. I'm definitely sick. I hope you guys don't catch this. This is awful. All right, I'm going to go back to sheet 1. All right, and we're going to rename this sheet. First of all, I'm going to zoom up so it's a little bit easier to see. And so we're going to make a little worksheet here. We're going to do some formatting, do some math. Everybody's probably freaking out because I said everybody's favorite 4-letter word, math. No worries. All the math we do in this class is basic everyday algebra. I will share with you all the formulas and functions. And remember, all your tests are open book, open note, except for the final. And we can always talk through the math if you don't understand it. All right, so we're going to go from there. All right, where am I at? Hold, please. Okay, sorry about that. All right, bringing my little document up here. Let's talk about a few more things before we dive into the math, or before we dive into Excel. First of all, I did talk about math. So we're going to talk about two things right now. So first of all, PEMDAS. All right, easier to write that than to write the symbols on the screen. What is that? Parentheses. Where is it? Exponent, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. What is that? That's the order of operation. In math, in algebra, and in Excel, all math is processed left to right. Whatever's in parentheses happens first. We don't do any exponential math in this class, so exponents would be next, but we don't deal with that. Then you multiply, then divide, then add, then subtract, left to right, but anything in parentheses comes first. That is standard math. We learned that when we were all very young. It's drilled into us. Excel works the same way. The other thing I want to talk about, and before we dive into this, is how do you calculate retail costs, okay, versus wholesale cost. So I always give this little, I always like to have a conversation with the students when I teach this lesson. So we're going to create a worksheet that we own like a little fruit stand at the swap meet. If you don't know what the swap meet is, it's a large outdoor market where people come and bring their stuff to sell. It's a lot of fun. If you've never been to one, definitely suggest checking it out. And so we'll pretend that we own like a little business and we want to keep track of the things that we're selling. And I always elicit responses from my students, and we always come up with a really funny worksheet. I don't get that opportunity, so I'm going to try to be funny on my own, but it doesn't ever translate. So, but what we ultimately want to talk about is, you know, we want to buy something at one price, excuse me, mark it up a certain amount, usually a percentage, and then sell it for that price, right? So if you're Walmart, I always like to use this example, you're Walmart and you're selling tennis balls for $1 each. And let's say you bought those tennis balls from another country. Did you buy those tennis balls as Walmart? Did you buy your tennis ball for $1 and then sell it to the world for $1 and make no money on it because you're Walmart and you're nice? Hopefully you're like shaking your head. No, no, no. You bought it for 10 cents from some country and marked it up $1. So you're really making 90 cents, right? That's the whole concept of retail cost versus wholesale cost. So Walmart buys it for 10 cents at wholesale, and then they marked it up to $1, and the difference is how much money they made. So what is the formula for that? Retail cost is always equal to excuse me, wholesale cost times a percentage that you mark it up added back to the wholesale cost. Okay, that's how you calculate retail cost or retail price. Write that down, save that. You're going to see that formula used in a lot of different ways throughout this unit. All right. I'm going to pull this to the side because I have it memorized and I've taught this a million times, not a million. And I still make mistakes. Okay. All right, let's start building our little worksheets. So first of all, I'm going to name the sheet 1. I'm going to double click sheet 1 and I'm going to call it Fruit Stand Practice. After you press enter, you right click and you can change the tab color to something else. And then let's talk, we'll add some text in and then we'll format it. And do some math along the way. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I had to pause it for a minute. I'm not feeling the best. Excuse me. God. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I want to type Sarah's Fruit Stand. Oh, looks like I had the italics turned on. I'm going to press enter. I'm going to go back to cell A1. Pretend that didn't happen. I just turned the italics off. That was from me demoing earlier. All right, I typed Sarah's Fruit Stand in, and then I pressed enter. All right, and all of you would type your first name, Fruit Stand. Okay. And in the second cell, I'm going to type tracking sheet. Okay. Now, I usually ask the students at this point, how many of you think the label Sarah's Fruit Stand is in cell A1, cell B1, or in both? And usually students say in both because it looks like it's appearing across both. Same thing with tracking sheet. Is it cell A2 or B2, or is it in both? Well, actually, this Sarah's Fruit Stand is only in cell A1. It looks like it's in cell B1 also because the words are longer than the width of the cell. This is the width of the cell. How do I know it's only in A1? Well, if I click on A1, right up here, this is called the formula bar. This is very important. We're going to be using this a lot. Whatever cell you click on, that's what's displayed in the formula bar. So you can see I click on A1, here are the words. If I click on B1, there's no words. If I click on A2, there's tracking sheet. B2, there's nothing there. Now what you can do is if you hover your cursor between cells A and B until your cursor looks like a two-headed arrow, when you double click, that will auto fit the cell to the widest width of whatever's inside of it. All right, let's keep building this worksheet. I need to pause it for a minute. Okay, sorry about that. Oh, all right, so your cursor should be in cell A4 at this point. All right, let's add the rest of our labels to kind of show you what the worksheet will look like, and then we can add some numbers in around it. So I'm going to type the word product and press enter. And this is where I usually ask students, what do we want to sell at the fruit stand? And it doesn't have to be fruit. This is going to be funny, weird things. So we're going to sell apples, because it's a fruit stand. We're going to sell salami. Why not? Okay, that sounds good. We also have tires and kittens. What kind of fruit stand is this? And then some iPhones that, what's the newest one? Is it a 15? Well, sure. They end up putting this in air quotes. They fell off the truck. All right, these are just some funny random items. And then the word total. All right. Oh, Okay, so what else? All right, so now I'm going to click on cell B4. Notice I'm not double clicking, I'm single clicking. Don't double click, you want to single click. All right, in cell B4, we're going to go across now. I want this to say wholesale cost, parentheses 1 unit. Now, I press enter, that's a lot of text, right? This is where things get confusing for students. Sorry. All this text in B4, if I click on C4, that text isn't there. I'm going to click on C4 and type the next label in, and it's going to look like it's overriding what's in B4. It's not. You just can't see it because it hasn't been expanded. So the next one is going to be quantity. Whoops. Okay. And then also, if you didn't know, you can use the arrow keys also to move around on your keyboard. That's what I'm doing if you're like, how'd you move there so quickly? Next one in D4 is total wholesale cost. And then E4 is retail price, 1 unit. Oops. And then F4 is going to be profit. And we're going to leave it at that. All right, so it's already looking weird. I can't see all the labels, right? So remember when I auto-fit this column right here? Well, right up here between the A and the 1, there's this little triangle. It's called the select all. If you click on this little triangle, it will select the entire worksheet. And now if you hover your cursor between any 2 letters, it doesn't matter, and double click, it will auto-fit the entire worksheet. All right, it's a nifty little trick, and I'm going to show some bonus things when we get back. So I'm going to save that for in person. All right. All right, so here are all my labels. Looks great. Now if I said, hey, I'd like the word Sarah's fruit stand to be all the way across. I want it to kind of be here in the center above my kind of looks like a table I have here, right? Well, I could click on this. All right, this is where I would tell you don't do this. Just watch. Here's where your cursor changes shape a 3rd time. I already showed you the thick white plus, the thin black plus, which is the fill handle. And then if you put your cursor on the edge, you get a 4-way arrow. That allows you to click, hold, and drag, and you can move the contents of the cell. Excuse me. I'm going to do a Control-Z, undo to put that back. I don't want to move it. I actually want to do what's called a merge and center. I want to take this text and I want to merge it and center it across A1 to F1. So to do that, I have to select all the cells I want to do that with. I'm going to select A1 to F1 with my thick white plus. Then on the home ribbon, in the alignment panel, is this giant button called merge and center. When you click it, boom, it merges and centers that text, and you can see this is now 1 cell. You see it's kind of outlined, and it's called A1. This is your new A1. All right, you can only merge and center 1 row at a time or 1 column at a time. So I'm going to do A2. I'm going to merge and center this. Boom. I'm going to save my file. Control-S. All right. Let's do a little bit more formatting. Hey, look, we have styles. Cell styles. We were doing a lot with styles before. Where we were modifying styles, so on and so forth. So you have styles also built into worksheets. Again, this is all based on the theme that I have picked, right? And in this case, I'm hovering over these colors. My cursor happens to be on E7, so it would fill it with this color green if I wanted to for some reason. I actually want to select A1. And if you go to cell styles, look at that. We have a title style, just like we did in Word. So I'm going to apply a title style here. Changes the font color and the size. Same kind of thing. I'm going to select A2 and I'm going to apply a heading 2. And then let's see what else. And then I'll select A4 to F4 and I'll apply a heading 3 because it has this nice little line under it. And then I'll select A5 to A10 and I'll apply a heading 4, right? So just giving it some different formatting. And then something I always do is I always select my sheet and auto-fit the whole thing. I auto-fit as I go along. That's just me and how my brain works. I like to make sure everything is neat and clean and compacted and I can really see everything I'm doing. I'm going to take a drink for a minute. Hold on. Okay. All right. Let's see what else I want to show you. Oh, okay. Maybe if you wanted to take text, see how the text is all spread out here. If I wanted text to appear on multiple lines, I can do what's called wrap text. I can select one cell and I could click this wrap text button. Now, it's turned on, but I didn't see anything happen. I actually have to change the width of the cell and then auto fit it vertically. Whoops. Control Z, Control Z. I didn't do that very well. I didn't display that very well. Control Z. Okay, we're back where we were. I'm going to choose the wrap text, and then I'm going to click and hold. I'm going to select this cell width and make it a different width. Now, again, I can't see that wrapped text, but all I have to do is if I increase the height of this row, then you can see how that text wraps. Okay, if I want to do that on these, I can select two at the same time. Now I've got a little bit of space. I can click wrap text. And then I have to actually change the width of the cells, right? If I do an auto fit, that looks terrible, by the way. I don't like how these are all breaking on different lines. So here's what I do. I'm just going to manually pull the width. And by the way, as I'm doing this, take notice. See how the width is displayed as 10 or characters. That's what that means. Or 75 pixels. Sometimes you're asked to change widths or dial things in specifically. You can drag the edge of a column. You can do the same thing with a row. Sorry about that. Ugh. Okay. You can change the width. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I had to take a break. Okay, so I was showing you how to wrap the text. So that was a little kludgy, I know, but what I'm getting at is if you have multiple lines of text in a cell, you can change the width and the height. And you can even wrap the text. Here's a bonus learning moment for those of you who are interested. This retail price looks pretty good. Is there a way to force text to another line in a cell? There actually is. Remember, in Word, it's called a manual line break. And it's Shift plus Enter. Here's a little bonus teaching moment. You won't find this in any of the assignments. If you double click a cell, I go into edit mode, and notice I place my cursor where I wanted it to be. But once you're in edit mode, you can move your cursor around the cell. I'm going to put my cursor right in front of the parentheses. Press Alt and Enter. And that will return it to the next line. And by the way, that also works in Google Sheets for those of you that are into Google Sheets. Okay. All right. As long as your worksheet looks something like this, I'm going to select the range A4 to F4. And there are also other alignment options. I can center text horizontally, and I can also center things vertically within a cell. You can even, just for fun, I could select this one cell here, and you could even angle your text up if you wanted to. That looks terrible. Control Z. If I go, excuse me. I choose the format cell alignment, that gives me the dialog box, and you can actually dial in however you want it. You can type in degrees. You can really adjust how the text looks. Let's see what shrink to fit looks. I have no idea what I'm going to get. Click OK. Look at that. That looks awful. Control Z. Just showing you can do that. Control S to save. Okay. Oh, so sorry, guys. All right. So let's get to the math part. That's the part we're here for, right? No, we hate math. Okay, where's my word? Little thing. All right, so again, let's talk about this guy. Retail cost is equal to wholesale cost times a percentage plus the wholesale cost. So some other terms you need to know about today are relative, cell referencing, and absolute referencing. Let's move that up a little bit so it's easier to see. Okay. So relative cell referencing and absolute cell reference. Hopefully you should be filling in your vocab sheet at this point, your glossary sheet. These are two of the terms, several terms I've gone over already. So what we're trying to do is, let's say we're going to sell apples at our swap meet, right? How much did I buy the apple from the farmer from? How much am I marking it up? and how much do I charge the customer? So that's what those three pieces weigh in. And if you're paying attention, we have not defined the percentage anywhere on this worksheet yet. That's on purpose. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about wholesale costs. So I always ask, how much did we buy one apple from the farmer down the road? Students are always like, $1. I'm like, you spent $1 and you're going to mark it up, what, to $5? Actually, that would probably make sense today in today's economy, but let's try and be a little realistic. Let's say the farmer down the road is going to sell you one apple for 5 cents, 0.05. Okay, and I'm going to type that in. Notice how a 0 went in front of the decimal place. All right, let's say this is like 1 pound of salami, right? How much is 1 pound of salami from the butcher he's going to sell me? Maybe he sells it to me for, I don't know, $3.75. Okay, so I'm going to type $3.75. How much is 1 tire from the junkyard guy that I'm going to resell? How much is he going to sell me 1 tire for? Maybe he sells it to me for $10. Now notice, in this case, I typed in a 10, and actually if I do an undo, I'll do it again. I type in 10.00, right, to represent money. When I press enter, the decimals go away. So you should already start noticing or having a clue in your head, like, hey, if you want things to look like money, you have to format it like money. You have to format all the numbers however you want them to be so Excel understands how to use them properly in calculations. So if I want 2 decimal places, I have to tell it, show 2 decimal places. If I want the dollar sign, I have to tell it to show the dollar sign. All right, 1 kitten. How much is 1 kitten from the guy down the road that has a whole bunch of kittens? All right, he'll sell me 1 kitten for $25. How much is 1 iPhone 15 that fell off the truck? Okay, that would resell. Maybe he's going to sell that to me for $39.99, which is a weird number, but I'm just putting weird numbers in. Okay, so if we want to say, we know this represents money, right? So if we want to format it like money, we can do that. So just like in Word, you want to select the cells, or we want to select the range. So I'm going to click B5 to B9 with the thick white plus. And on the home ribbon in the number panel, look at this. There's something that looks like a dollar sign. This is called accounting number format. If you click it, it immediately formats it like money. It puts a dollar sign in on the left. It aligns all the numbers to the right, and we even have 2 decimal places. If I want more decimal places, there's an option up here to increase or decrease the decimal places. Okay, depending on what you're doing, you might need to show or hide more decimal places. There's other shortcuts up here in this drop-down list. If you want to just take a quick gander and look at the currency, you'll see there's another money type formatting. The difference is currency puts that dollar sign really close to the numbers. Accounting keeps it on the left edge. So depending on what you're asked to format, you want to pay attention to that. All right, how many apples are we going to sell? So I'm just going to type in some random numbers. Let's say I've got 200 apples, I've got 15 salamis, I got 25 tires, I have 200 kittens, and I have 37 iPhones. Yes, that I did say 200 kittens. We'll come back to that. Wow, that's a lot of kittens. Why are we selling kittens and tires? I mean, that's just weird. But that's okay. All right, where are we at? All right, here we go. So we know the retail cost is going to be the wholesale cost. That's these numbers here, times the percentage, which we haven't defined yet. I take that number and add it back to the wholesale cost, and that gives us the retail cost. So I'm going to do this a couple of times. I'm going to do it, I'm going to delete it, I'm going to do it again and delete it, and through that I'm going to explain what relative and absolute cell referencing means. Okay, so first of all, over here in H4, we're going to type in markup percentage, and if I want, I can click on this guy here, use Format Painter, and apply the same formatting. Oop, and I need to do the wrap text. Okay. So hopefully you followed all that with some of the learning I've already shown, so I can apply the formatting. Now, if you're at school, when you type in markup percentage, it might actually take on the formatting automatically. I noticed mine at home didn't do that. So if yours took it on automatically, even better. All right, in cell H5, I'm going to say we're going to mark up everything 25%. So I'm going to type in a 25 and the percent symbol. When you do that, Excel understands that the value in H5 actually is a percentage. You don't have to convert percentages in Excel. Excel will do all the math for you, do all the conversions for you. You just have to make sure that you're entering the data incorrectly. Okay. So again, bring this back up here so you guys can see it. I'm going to go ahead and emulate this part. So when you're in Excel, you type the equal sign and everything after it. And what you see, the result is what's on the left of the equal sign, right? So retail costs, which is going to be an E5, right? But first, we're going to do total wholesale costs. Let's talk a little bit about math. So what is total wholesale cost? If I have one apple at 5 cents and I have 200 of them, how much did I spend in total, right? What is the math for that? And the math is 200 times 0.05. All right, so let's do a little bit of math. First of all, you never want to type in numbers into your formulas and functions if you can reference them in a worksheet. What does that mean? So first of all, actually, let me back up. Let me give you two more definitions. Formula and a function. Formulas are math you write. Functions, math Excel writes. Like sum. Okay, you've seen the sum. You might have seen the sum function. There are over 4,000 functions in Excel. We learn about 20 of them in this class. So we're going to write a formula. In this case, it was 200 times 0.5. So how do you write a formula in Excel? Well, first of all, you start with the equal sign. Everything starts with the equal sign. Now, you would say I could type 200 times 0.05, and I would get my answer, right? I spent 10, and I spent $10 on it, right? Control Z. Thing is I'm not going to write that formula over and over again for each one of my items. And let's say I was selling more than 5. Maybe I had 500 items. You'd be like, I'm not writing that formula every time. Excel is very powerful. It'll do the calculations for you. You should write it once and then copy it many times using what we learned on this worksheet, using that fill handle. That's where the fill handle comes in. So instead, I'm going to start over. I'm going to type in equal, but instead of typing 0.05 to represent the wholesale cost, I'm just going to click on the cell. And what it does is it references B5. It actually puts the cell name in there. You'll see that there are marching ants around B5. You'll see that B5 is blue and the marching ants are blue. So it's a reference, okay? It's creating what's called a relative cell reference. All right. Once I have B5 in there, whoops. See, if you click on anything, it's happening. Then I do the multiplication symbol. I want to multiply that by 200, okay? So it's still multiplying 5 cents by 200, but instead it's taking the values that are in those cells and doing the multiplication for you. Now you can press the Enter key again, or right up here on the formula bar, there's a check mark, which is the same as pressing Enter, except it doesn't move your cursor. It leaves it there, and it brought over the formatting for us. Now here's the power. I wrote that once. Okay, and if you double click this cell, you will go into edit mode. Here you go in edit mode. You can see how it's laid out. Press the escape key to get out of it. Now, because I'm referencing cells, if I use my fill handle to copy that down, what it does is it copies all the math down. It copies all the math down using and increasing the cell location relative to where it began. Now, if you see these hashtag symbols, oh no, what does that mean? All that means is there's not enough room to show you what's in the cell, so all you have to do is auto-fit it, and you can see everything. Okay, there's no way I spent $5,000 on kittens. oh, that's right. I didn't buy 200 kittens. I only bought 20 kittens. So I'm going to come back. This is the power of Excel because I've used relative cell referencing. If I change the value in C8 to 20, I'm just going to type a 20, whoops, and press enter. Notice how my total wholesale cost change. It becomes dynamic because it's tied to these cell locations. Okay, that was a lot. I don't feel like I explained that very clearly. So relative cell referencing is copying cells, copying a cell location, and that cell location changes relative to where it began. It increments, leaving the math the same. If you go to the, let's save my file. If I go to the review, no, if I go to the formula ribbon, there's a button right here in the formula auditing called Show Formulas. If you click it, it converts your worksheet and shows you all the formulas. You can see anywhere I type numbers are still numbers, but here's where the math is. There's also a keyboard shortcut. It's Control and the tilde key, which is next to the number 1. So I'm showing you that so you can see how the multiplication stayed the same, but each cell location changed. It incremented from the one above. That is relative cell referencing. Okay. Now at this point, you guys save it, and I'm gonna do it wrong. Don't do this part. I'm gonna select these cells and I'm gonna press a delete, not backspace. Delete. Oh. So sorry. I'm so sorry you've had to listen to so much coughing. Thank you for listening 46 minutes in and attempting this lesson. Any practice is good practice. I can tell I'm fading fast. So I'm going to finish this up quickly, show you a few more things, and then we'll see what you guys can do. And I have complete faith in you because the simulation and the training are way easy, very straightforward, just some simple formatting. And I'm gonna review a lot of this when we come back after spring break. Okay, so where was I? Oh, I deleted this. Don't do this. So if I type in the equal and I type 0.05 times 200, if I just manually type the numbers in, if I use the fill handle, here I'd ask you, what do you think is going to happen? If you said $10 gets copied all the way down, you would be correct. Because if I do the show formula, it's just copying the same thing. It doesn't have any cell locations to increment. Okay? All right, Control Z, we'll do this one more time, equal the cell times the cell, enter. And then, because I'm so lazy, if you double click the fill handle, take it all the way down. Now, it thinks there's something supposed to be here, and there's nothing there, so I'm just going to click on that, press delete, not backspace. All right, let's talk about retail price 1 unit. All right, this is the formula that we want to put in. Everything to the right of the equal sign. So I'm going to do this a couple of times, and in that I'm going to show you what absolute cell referencing is, and then we're almost done. Okay, so we know that the retail price is the wholesale cost times the percentage inside parentheses added back to the wholesale cost. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start with an equal sign, right? And then I had an open parentheses, and I said it was the wholesale cost times the markup, which is right over here, the 25%, close parentheses, added back to the wholesale cost. So now I'm going to make a mistake. I'm not going to put that other piece in. Okay. I'm doing this on purpose. I'm going to leave this piece off because I want to show you what happens. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter. Oh, okay. 1 cent. This is where you have to be smarter. Remember I say computer dumb, human smart? You have to look at the data that you're generating and does it make sense? I bought an apple for 5 cents and I'm selling it for a penny. I'm going to take a loss of 4 cents because I don't want to make money on the world? No, that's incorrect. You should know right now there must be something wrong with my math. It doesn't make sense. Actually, what you're looking at, that's actually the profit. That's how much money you put in your pocket. That part of the formula is how much money you're making. That's why we add it back to the wholesale cost. Okay? So I'm going to do an undo, and I'm going to do it again correctly. Equal, open parentheses, wholesale cost times, oops, yep, I'm sick. I apologize. Escape. I'm going to start over. Equal, open parentheses, wholesale cost. I'm clicking on the cell. Times, which is shift in the number 8, or all of the math symbols are around the numeric keypad on your keyboard. So I'm going to hit the time symbol. Times the markup, Sarah, close parentheses, added back to, plus the wholesale cost. Okay? This matches. That's the formula. We only type in what's to the right of the equal sign, including the equal. Okay. Now I'm going to hit the enter key. Woohoo! I got 6 cents, so I bought it for 5 cents, selling it for 6, and I'm making a penny. That totally makes sense. Okay, awesome. Now I'm going to use that nifty trick Sarah taught me. I'm going to use the fill handle. And this is where I say, what's wrong with this picture? The first one's correct. Hey, but the other ones, wait a minute. Why is the retail $3.75? That's the same. Those are $10. What's happening? So this is the first kind of thing I want to teach you in Excel. How to solve problems on your own. If something doesn't look right, or it's weird, or it's funky, or you don't understand it, double click it and try to trace what's happening. So I'm just going to double click this 25. All right, what's happening? All right, it's taking B8 times H8. So B8 is $25, good, times H8. Oh, what's inside H8? Nothing. Notice, because of relative cell referencing, all the cells incremented from where they began. So this 25% was in the first cell, but it didn't exist in the other cells. So down here, H8 actually is empty, which means 0. And anything times 0 is 0, and that's why we only get this part of the answer. If I double click this cell, you might think, okay, look at that. So the solution, I would say, how would I fix that? And everybody would say, oh, just, copy 25% down, and that totally works. However, there's a better way, because you don't want to have to keep adding stuff. You want to be able to write your formula, but have it just point to this one cell every time. And that, I think I know where my own files are. That is absolute cell referencing. Absolute cell referencing is when you point to a fixed location, and when you copy the math, when you copy the function or formula, the cell location does not change. It stays permanent. It stays fixed. All right, so let's do that. I'm going to select this range of cells, and I'm going to press delete, not backspace, delete, to clear my cells. Another way to clear the cells is, I'll do it, show you again. If you select them, and then under cell style, under, where is it, Sarah? Clear. The giant button that says clear. Okay, sorry. I hope you're laughing, because I know I am. Oh my God. Okay, clear all. Boom, very good. We'll click on the cell. Okay, we're going to write it one more time, but this time we're going to use absolute cell referencing. So first we start with the equal sign, open parentheses, wholesale cost, times retail wholesale cost times markup percentage. Now, at this point, I need to tell Excel, hey, keep H5 only in H5. Don't change its location. So turn it into an absolute cell reference. If you're on a PC, not a Mac, if you're on a PC, the function 4 key, not the number 4, but the function 4. There's 12 function keys at the top of your keyboard. F4, function 4. We'll turn it into a absolute cell reference. Let's see if mine works. There we go. Now, if you're on a laptop or some other keyboard at home, you might notice that your function keys have dual purpose. Sorry. If you're on a PC or a weird keyboard, not at school, basically if you're on a computer, not at school, you might notice that you have to press a secondary key to activate the function keys. All right. Wait, Sarah, what if I'm on a Mac? I'm going to press escape. I'm going to do it again. If you're on a Mac, equal wholesale cost. You could actually come in here and manually type the $ signs in front of each letter and number. So the function for key turns it into an absolute cell reference. You can manually type it in on the PC or the Mac, it doesn't matter. Close parentheses. Added back to the wholesale cost. Okay. Oh, so this is telling me I have an error. Anybody know what it is? I actually do know what it is. I'm missing the open parentheses. It doesn't like what I'm doing. So I'll click OK. Add that parentheses in. That's my fault. I'm sick if you haven't figured that out 55 minutes in, of course. Okay. Now I'm going to press enter. Woo! And now I'm going to use my fill handle. And now I got all the right numbers. And to test it, you can see it took 10 times the 25%, added it back to the 10, escape key. This one took the B9, which is $39.99, times the 25%. Okay. And what's great about this, because I've now made this flexible worksheet, this dynamic worksheet that changes when I put data in, that means if I come along and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to mark things up 25%, I'm going to do 15%. When I change that, all my numbers change at the same time. What if I marked it up 17.5%? This is how much I would make. Oh, look at that. And the 17.5 doesn't show. It shows 18. That's because I would need to show an extra decimal place. All right, I think the last thing I'm going to show you is, so we talked about formulas. I saved my file. So a function is math that Excel writes, okay? And we're going to, when we come back, when we meet again on Monday and Tuesday after spring break, we're going to do an assignment together in class where I run through all of these pre-built functions. But on the formula ribbon, we have a lot of these are called libraries, which have these pre-built functions, okay? There's also this auto sum button, which has some commonly used functions. And then to get all the functions in all the functions in Excel, if I click this More Functions button, this brings up the function dialog box. We're going to play a lot with this in the class. Cancel. If you go back to the home ribbon, all the way at the end, there's a button called Auto Sum. It's the same button that we saw over here under Formulas. Okay, these functions are so popular and so common, they put a shortcut on the home ribbon. That's what I'm pointing out. So sum, adds, average, count, max, min. We're going to cover all these on Monday and Tuesday when we get back from spring break. But I'm just going to talk about sum, adds. Okay, that's all it does is add. Okay, you can't use sum to solve every single math problem in this unit for those who've used Excel in the past. So sum lets us add things. So if I want to know how much stuff is in my van, right, all of these things, I have 200 apples, 15 salami, so on and so forth. I could add these at the bottom, right? If I want to know a total, I could type equal, and I could do this, plus, enter, and I could get 297. Great, that's awesome, Control C. The other way is I can place my cursor where I want the answer to appear, and I can just insert a function, and Excel is smart enough to look above it or to the left of it. In this case, there are numbers above it, and it says, oh, there's numbers there? I'm just going to grab it. And I'm going to press it, and it puts a range of cells. It says sum C5 to C9. I press enter. Look at that. I got the same answer. Okay? So another way to do math are using these pre-built functions. Okay? All right, I'm going to save my file. I think that's as far as I want to go. So we're almost at an hour. Thank you for making it this far. I will create a space for you to turn this in. I will give you extra credit. I'm looking for 2 worksheets. Both named, both having the tabs changed. I'm looking for all these items, something similar to this. Actually, it should be exactly this. And then on the fruit stand practice, I want something similar. I want the same thing here. I don't care if the colors and the fonts are the same, but I'm looking for, in the end, all the same numbers. And I want all the math to be what the math we talked about. So these are formulas. This is a function, okay, and the formatting. And I think I even wanted to see the 17.5. Let's see if we can get to that. So show me the extra decimal place there. Yeah, and obviously if you guys have any questions, let me know. And I think I will give you guys until before we meet again after spring break to turn this in for extra credit. Okay? All right, well, have a good rest of your week. Have a safe spring break. I am so sorry I'm not there. I know you guys understand, but I feel immensely guilty. I feel slightly okay that I made this lecture, which I will not be closed captioning, so I apologize for that. I think I've apologized enough. All right, have a great rest of your week and an awesome spring break. Stay in touch. Please come back to school after spring break, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.